Hello. Okay, we have Chapter 3, The Innocent Perception, Section 6, Judgment and the Authority Problem. We have already discussed the last judgment, but in insufficient detail. After the last judgment, there will be no more. It's last. Judgment is symbolic because beyond perception, there is no judgment. When the Bible says, "Judge not, that ye be not judged," it means that if you judge the reality of others, you will be unable to avoid judging your own. And when I feel disquiet, I am engaged in judging, and judgment applies to everything. If I'm judging me, I'm judging you. If I'm judging you, I'm judging me. And I can always go in to have that corrected. Okay. Gotta find my place here. Okay. The choice to judge rather than to know is the cause of the loss of peace. Judgment is the process on which perception, but not knowledge, rests. I have discussed this before in terms of the selectivity of perception, pointing out that evaluation is its obvious prerequisite. Judgment always involves rejection. That's something to look at. Judgment always involves rejection. It always involves rejection. It never emphasizes only the positive aspects of what is judged, whether in you or in others. What has been perceived and rejected, or judged and found wanting, remains in your mind because it has been perceived. And what came to mind as I'm looking at this is me talking to my kids about brushing their teeth. So let that be applied everywhere today, without fear. One of the illusions from which you suffer is the belief that what you judged against has no effect. This cannot be true unless you also believe that what you judged against does not exist. You evidently do not believe this, or you would have not judged against it. In the end, it does not matter whether your judgment is right or wrong. Either way, you are placing your belief in the unreal. And the real is here for us every time we go in. The real is here for us. So we can choose that. This cannot be avoided in any type of judgment, because it implies the belief that realities is yours to select from. Reality is just one, it's unified, it just is, and there's really no selection unless we're selecting, turning our attention toward unreality or turning our attention toward reality. You have no idea of the tremendous release and deep peace that comes from meeting yourself and your brothers totally without judgment. When you recognize what you are and what your brothers are, you will realize that judging them in any way is without meaning. In fact, their meaning is lost to you precisely because you are judging them. All uncertainty comes from the belief that you are under the coercion of judgment. I like that. Let me remember this. All uncertainty comes from the belief that you are under the coercion of judgment. It's a choice. I'm not being forced to do it. It's optional. You do not need judgment to organize your life, and you certainly do not need it to organize yourself. In the presence of knowledge, all judgment is automatically suspended, and this is the process that enables recognition to replace perception. So recognition replaces perception. You are very fearful of everything you have perceived, but have refused to accept. You believe that because you have refused to accept it, you have lost control over it. This is why you see it in nightmares, or in pleasant disguises in what seem to be your happier dreams. Nothing that you have refused to accept can be brought into awareness. It is not dangerous in itself, but you have made it seem dangerous to you. When you feel tired, it is because you have judged yourself as capable of being tired. When you laugh at someone, it is because you have judged him as unworthy. When you laugh at yourself, you must laugh at others, if only because you cannot tolerate the idea of being more unworthy than they are. And one of the things that said in the course is we forgot to laugh. So we forgot to laugh about the innocence of our mistake in making unreality, being attached to it, thinking it's something when it's nothing. But this is directing us away from laughing at ourselves, from laughing at others, from finding unworthiness in others, from finding unworthiness in ourselves. But what can we laugh about? We can laugh about the mistake we made. It wasn't that serious, even though it seems to have taken on all these very serious forms. It's a mistake only a mistake that can be corrected. Okay. When you laugh at yourself, you must laugh at others, if only because you cannot tolerate the idea of being more unworthy than they are. All this makes you feel tired, because it is essentially disheartening. You are not really capable of being tired, but you are very capable of wearying yourself. The strain of constant judgment is virtually intolerable. It is curious that an ability so debilitating would be so deeply cherished. Yet if you wish to be the author of your reality, you will insist on holding on to judgment. You will also regard judgment with fear, believing that it will someday be used against you. This belief can exist only to the extent that you believe in the efficacy of judgment as a weapon of defense for your own authority. God offers only mercy. That's worth remembering. God offers only mercy. And one more time, God offers only mercy. Your words should reflect only mercy, because that is what you have received, and that is what you should give. So let me pause while this seems like a behavioral instruction, because what I have seen in my thoughts and what I had seemed to have seen others do outside of me too, that's my projection, right, is telling people shoulds about behavior. And my thoughts, my should thoughts about my behavior and others' behaviors are like whirlpools that I can get stuck in. So rather than trying to control my words, I have found it easier to look at the emotion. Okay, if I feel tempted to speak with irritation, if I'm able to slow down to look at the emotion, to see that irritation, to know I'm attached to thinking that isn't true, to find at least one thought, take that into spirit, let it go, sit, let peace be brought to me, let peace dawn on me, and just sit there and let that come to me. That's, I still have to practice that. My behavior is caused by my thinking. Until I allow my thinking to change, my behavior can't really change. So if I try to speak with mercy, that's a lot of thinking and judgment and control. That's a lot of effort and strain. But if I have the practice of going in and asking Spirit to send me true thoughts, to exchange, okay, I give Spirit my thought, these kids should not be so loud. I give that thought to Spirit, and I'm willing to accept and exchange Spirit's thoughts for me, or even a conceptless flow, that's fine too, where it doesn't seem to be thinking as I know it, that's fine too, as long as it's happiness and joy and peace that I can share. So yeah, that's the practice for me. And I have many, many, many opportunities every single day to do this practice. I'm not beyond this practice at all. So going in to do that practice changes my thinking. My thinking causes my behavior. So do I try very hard to speak mercifully? No. No, I don't. But when I'm feeling less than merciful, do I go in? Yeah, a lot. More and more every day. And that's what seems to make the difference. Okay. Justice is a temporary expedient or an attempt to teach you the meaning of mercy. It is judgmental only because you are capable of injustice. If we think about, I'm capable of believing thoughts from ego about injustice. That makes more sense to me now than saying I'm capable of injustice. Well, break it down for me. What does that mean? It means ego sends me thoughts about injustice, or ego sends me judgmental thoughts that are unjust to myself and others, and I believe them. That's what that means. But then Spirit can offer me replacement thoughts. I have spoken of different symptoms, and at that level there is almost endless variation. There is, however, only one cause for all of them, the authority problem. This is the root of all evil. Every symptom the ego makes involves a contradiction in terms, because the mind is split between the ego and the Holy Spirit, so that whatever the ego makes is incomplete and contradictory. This untenable position is the result of the authority problem, which, because it accepts the one inconceivable thought as its premise, can produce only ideas that are inconceivable. Yeah, so that's my problem, the authority problem. That's what I work on every day. Okay, the issue of authority is really a question of authorship. When you have an authority problem, it is always because you believe you are the author of yourself and project your delusion onto others. You then perceive the situation as one in which others are literally fighting you for your authorship. This is the fundamental error of all those who believe they have usurped the power of God. This belief is very frightening to them, but hardly troubles God. He is, however, eager to undo it, not to punish his children, but only because he knows that it makes them unhappy. God's creations are given their true authorship, but you prefer to be anonymous when you choose to separate yourself from your author. Being uncertain of your true authorship, you believe that your creation was anonymous. This leaves you in a position where it sounds meaningful to believe that you created yourself. The dispute over authorship has left such uncertainty in your mind that it may even doubt whether you really exist at all. Only those who give over all desire to reject can know that their own rejection is impossible. That's worth looking at. Only those who give over all desire to reject can know that their own rejection is impossible. And that's something that I can be aware of during the day, where I experience a desire to reject. And I just experienced this. I was trying to schedule an appointment, and it seemed very important to me at the time that I did it in a way that was convenient for me personally. And I could feel the edge on that, like so insistent that it be personally convenient for me. I could feel it, and I even went in to ask for help with it. So you know what happened? I ended up getting confused about the dates and scheduled it in the way that I would have interpreted it as being exactly personally inconvenient for me. Like I did it myself, and it was the opposite of what I intended to do. So that was a funny lesson. That like I could see that trying so hard to get my way, to force my agenda, was not right. And I did pause to go in, probably more than once on that. But it didn't really come clear to me. And then discovering that I had actually done the opposite of what I wanted to do, that just, I don't know, it softens things for me, and I can go in again, and I can, it's kind of like asking to have the edge taken off, you know. really wanting to be guided, because we know we don't know what we're doing when we're trying to get our way. I know I don't know what I'm doing. Look at that confusion. So that was helpful. Okay. Let me find where I was. Okay. Only those who give over all desire to reject can know that their own rejection is impossible. You have not usurped the power of God, but you have lost it. Fortunately, to lose something does not mean that it has gone. It merely means that you do not remember where it is. Its existence does not depend on your ability to identify it or even to place it. It is possible to look on reality without judgment and merely know that it is there. Peace is a natural heritage of spirit. Everyone is free to refuse to accept his inheritance, but he is not free to establish what his inheritance is. The problem everyone must decide is the fundamental question of authorship. All fear comes ultimately, and sometimes by way of very devious routes, from the denial of authorship. The offense is never to God, but only to those who deny him. To deny his authorship is to deny yourself the reason for your peace, so that you see yourself only in segments. This strange perception is the authority problem. There is no one who does not feel that he is imprisoned in some way. If this is the result of his own free will, he must regard his will as not free, or the circular reasoning in this position would be quite apparent. Free will must lead to freedom. Judgment always imprisons because it separates segments of reality by the unstable scales of desire. Wishes are not facts. To wish is to imply that willing is not sufficient. Yet no one in his right mind believes that what is wished is as real as what is willed. Instead of seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, say, will ye first the kingdom of heaven? And you have said, I know what I am, and I accept my own inheritance. Okay, thank you.